Okay, so this is my final video for tonight, explaining John Two Crows. First and foremost, I got it in my head and I got fucked up, but the show must go on, as all actors will tell you. When you fuck up, you just keep going and pray that nobody notices, which is generally how that works. If you keep going, nobody will actually notice. Alright? I took my wristband off so I could actually improv and go get in the shower. But anyway, here's how this works. John Two Crows is a man who's the son of a black man and the youngest chieftain's daughter. So, in some cultures, in some Native American tribes, that's like a really bad sin. So, I went with that. But the reason why I made this video is because many years ago, way back in my 20s, I had a very bad experience with a few natives. Alright? Now, it was the first time that I had ever been told that I was not pure blood. And it fucked me up. Alright? I do not hold all native tribes in any way guilty or responsible for those two people. Alright? Because it happened on the same day, so the two incidences. But here's the thing. No one gets a chance to talk to the Great Spirit and ask them when they are born, can they do this or can they be that? We don't get that option. And the reason why I use the term Great Spirit, because if there's any natives watching, they generally refer to the good Lord as the Great Spirit. Alright? Now, the name John Two Crows, it's a fictional name. It's not real, but I drew the crows on my face to represent the crows. So, again, in many native cultures, crows have a significant meaning. Now, why does John Two Crows have Two Crows as his last name instead of a black man's name? Now, the reason why I did that is because my great-grandmother, Ada Wallace, was Americanized or westernized, because it was America, but Native Americans had to take Western names, just like slaves had to take Western names to be identified. And since 1924 was the year Native Americans got their rights, it's either 1924 or 1949. I think it's 24. Anyway, Google it. Native Americans didn't have American citizenship. And kind of still don't to a certain degree. So, in doing this, I'm hoping that I opened up some eyes to some of the prejudice that I have faced in life. Now, when I say that, again, in the first video explaining the scene, I explained that, I've had a lot of racial experiences not good. I've had some racial experiences that were bad from Native Americans as well as blacks as well as whites. And also in the video, before the video that you just saw, I had more negative experiences from black people versus white people versus Native Americans. See, my Native American incident was only two people. Alright? 9 times out of 10, most of the time, if I meet somebody who's Native, they're like, okay, you're a mixture of Native. What Native are you? And as far as I know, it's just Cherokee. So, and on both sides. And now when I meet with like white people, it's like, okay, you're mixed. What are you mixed with? And then when I meet with black people, you're mixed. It's what are you mixed with? But with other people, it's like the same kind of dynamic. Only it's not as insulting. Like coming up through school, it was always, oh, you're a half breed. You're a half breed. And then when I found out I was Native American, I was beyond the half breed status by then. So the thing is, we all face challenges and diversity. The problem is nobody tries to view it from the person who's being victimized's shoes. Right? The first time I was told I was unpure, it kind of messed me up because my grandmother and her mother before her never explained to me native life. And so if something is not explained to you, you find out real quick the hard way at how things actually work. And so, I embrace my Native American culture. Sorry, I shouldn't have my back to y'all like that. But taking off my shoes so I can get ready to go get in the shower and wash off the superhero stank. And I suggest that everybody embraces their culture. Embrace your history. Get to know your family history. Find out where you came from. Very few people on both sides of my family embrace our native culture. I am not the only one that does it. Shout out to Aquarius, because he also does it. Now, I haven't been to a powwow, and I haven't been to a reservation. Although I would like to do that before I die, because it's like one of the things, it's not that I don't know where to go, but it's more like I don't know how to get there. I don't know if I need permission, and I'm going to find out. I also took a 23andMe DNA test, so we're going to find out how much native I have in me, and we're going to hopefully have some good results, or at least some fairly decent results, and see if the family's been lied to their entire life. So I'm going to go wash these 2 crows off my face and wash my superhero stink. But I just wanted you guys to understand it. Racism does not discriminate. And if anybody ever says that, certain color people can't be racist, they're lying. Because as I said in the other video, I have been the victim of racism from blacks, whites, and Native Americans. And I kind of put it in that order because it was from worst to least. And the worst, all through school, I've had it probably worse from black people, like from kindergarten to college. And in middle school and grade school, it really wasn't that bad, but it was really, really, really bad when I started getting through the higher grades. Like when I had to work, I got tired of being called chief. I had a lot of experiences. And then, when I met the bad natives, I can't say that all the natives from their tribes were that bad, because the girl that I was interested in was like one of the high chief's daughters, and they didn't want her dating me because I was pure blood. The fact that she was 18 didn't mean shit to them, and I think I was like 23, 24, somewhere in there. And 2 times in that one day, 2 different natives in wheelchairs rolled up to me and said, "You can't talk to the high chief's daughter because you're not pure blood." And I'm like, well, damn. Yeah, and they were lighter than me, skin tone. And Native Americans do have various skin tones due to location. For all they know, I could have been Hopi. But because of their ignorance and their racist ways, I didn't get the chance to talk to the girl anymore. They kept her away from me until the wheelchair tournament was over. And I never got to see her again. So if you're out there high, blame it on your guardians. And then it was just like some shit because, my grandmother hadn't died. And I didn't want to bring that up to her. This was like way before 2008. And I didn't think, because my grandmother, she cooked for white men for her entire, life until she retired. And her mother before her, who was also Native, cooked for white men for their entire lives. They were like professional cooks. And I guess back then, it was probably easier for them to get a job because no one really knew how to register them. But my grandmother, Bay, married a black man. I.e., my last name is Williams. My father's father was black. My father's mother's Native American. And so, my grandmother, Ada, who is my grandmother Bay's mother, never told us about reservation life other than her and her brother John running through the woods in moccasins. And that's pretty much it. And other than, Native American legends and shit, I have nothing. So, I looked for the Powhite Reservation. I swear to God, it doesn't exist. If it does exist, it's not popping up on Google. Now, Powhite is a location outside of Richmond or inside of Richmond. It's out there somewhere. So after I figure out how this DNA thing works, I'm going to register for the Native American Bureau of Indian Affairs. And we're going to see what we can do about my college classes and some more shit. Because depending on how much Native American you are, and this varies from state to state, so don't believe it. If you're a certain percentage of Native American, you can go to college for free. Which would have been nice to know when I first started college back in 1990-something. But, it is what it is. So, as I end this video, I just want you guys to understand that racism is a thing that's not going anywhere because most of us choose not to address it. And from the words of John Two Crows, it is not most of our faults how we come into this world. We don't get that option. I mean, if I was born a pretty Asian girl, would you still acknowledge me? If I was born a pretty Asian man, would you still acknowledge me? If I was born a handsome, rich white man, would you acknowledge me? If I was born a poor, rich white man, or a poor white man who's richer than I am right now, would you acknowledge me? If I was born a poor woman, if I was born a full-blooded black person, would you acknowledge me? Well, here's the thing. Doesn't matter, because some people are racist to people of the same color. Some people are racist to people of the same ethnicity and background. And this is the problem that we have to address. The problem is that no one wants to address it. No one. Racism hits the table, everybody hits the floor. And I don't mean they don't lay in the front-leaning rest position. They hit the floor and they hit the door. They jump in their shoes, they jump in their boots, they jump in their moccasins, they jump in their kung fu kicking shoes, and they flail for that fucking door. Because sitting down to talk about why we can't stand somebody just for the fucking simple fact of their race is a problem. Hey, it's a problem because we let it continue to be a problem for centuries. Centuries, people, centuries. Since slavery, racism has been a problem. Check that. Before slavery, racism was a problem. Because we were all meeting each other for the first time. We were oblivious to other people's existence. Asians didn't know about Egyptians. Egyptians didn't know about Asians. And neither one of those knew about Europeans. Now, Egypt isn't Africa, so when I say Egyptians, we're going to circumvent the whole damn thing and say it was Africa. Alright? And certain parts of Asia tied to Africa, so we're not going to go too far from that. The Tahitian Islands, the Samoan Islands, they didn't know about certain parts of the Western world, or the Europeans. Up until America was discovered, no one had realized that America was discovered twice before the Europeans got there. Because the first person who initially discovered the Americas was a Chinese man. The second people who initially discovered America stayed there, and they can be traced back to Mongolian roots, which are Native Americans, which are biologically Asian. So when you go through the song and dance that I just put you through, you'll understand. Now, there are some pure-blood Native Americans who look purely white. There are some pure-blood Native Americans that look purely black. And then there's me. But I consider myself to be multicultural. However, before I end this video, if you guys are watching this, and if you have anybody who's Native American in your friendly circle, ask them to answer my question. Should I bill myself as a full-blood Native American because being mixed for 20 years in this business has not worked out? And this is the year of the ox. So we're going to pray that it's my year because I was born year of the ox. Thank you guys for watching. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Be seeing you.